Active Directory is a huge repository of information, and we're going to need to apply some form of control to how that information is used, consumed, and accessed. That information could be stored on computers that have an account within Active Directory, or it could be getting used by users with an account in Active Directory. And so if we need to control the settings of a user or control the settings on a computer, we have a tool within Active Directory, or AD, called Group Policy. Now, Group Policy can be used to apply security settings. It can be used to deliver software if you need to as well. You can use it to control what a user can and can't do on a local computer, and indeed what they can and what they can't do over the network using user rights assignments within Group Policy. One of the things that we have to get used to, though, with GPOs or Group Policy objects is their processing order, and they follow a very strict processing order. We can see that here in this presentation, where right at the very top we have the Group Policy settings from the local computer. Imagine, if you will, that this local computer has just been bought from the manufacturer, it's been pulled out of the box, put onto the desk and fired up. There's going to be no security policy applied to that machine at all at that stage, and that's not good. So we need to control the security settings and the overall policy of that machine. So then Group Policy kicks in with any Group Policy objects that are applied to the Active Directory site. If there are any conflicts in Group Policy between the Active Directory site and the local computer, the Active Directory site will win. And you'll see a theme forming here, because it's always the child object or the child policy object that wins. Next, we have Group Policies that are targeting the Active Directory domain. And if there are any conflicts between the domain, the site, and the local computer, it's the domain policies that win. Coming next, we have organizational units. Same rules apply. Any group policies that are applied to the organizational units where there is a conflict between the OU, the domain, the site, or the local computer, it's the policy of the OU that wins. If we have child OUs, precisely the same rules apply. If there's a conflict, it's the child object that wins out every time. We can make changes to the policy processing order by using features known as block inheritance, and we can also put in an enforced policy. These are settings that we would use to apply more advanced features within Group Policy objects themselves. Time now then, after all of that theory, to actually take a look at the practical side of managing users, managing computers with Group Policy. One thing that I can't do is turn you all into Group Policy gurus in the next 5 minutes or so of this demonstration. On Microsoft courses, this is normally 5 days in its own right. But let's take a look at an introduction to Group Policy now, though. Here we've got the Group Policy Management Console. And inside the Group Policy Management Console, this is where I can go through now and actually create group policies. So here we have GPOs or Group Policy objects. And with the Group Policy objects, I can use these to control the settings for both users and computers. So what I'm going to do is just right-click and create a new Group Policy object, and we'll call this one Branch Office Users. We'll just go ahead and we'll OK that. That now creates this new group policy called Branch Office Users.
Let's take a look though and see what it is we can do with it. It's an incredibly powerful tool, and it's one of the major unique selling points of an Active Directory network. Now, I'm not going to be applying any of the computer settings at this stage. I'm interested in the user configuration settings. So what I'm going to do is just go to my properties here, and I'm going to disable the computer configuration settings. Now, when group policy is applied, it's applied serially. So the computer configuration settings, even if we haven't configured anything, are processed first, and this can slow up a computer when it's booting. So I'm just disabling the computer settings because I'm not applying any computer settings. This will lead to my machines booting slightly faster. But if I go into the user configuration, then here I've got group policies themselves, where I can choose to deploy software using group policy. I can control Windows settings, such as security settings, folder redirection, Internet Explorer. I can control proxy server settings, and I've got my administrative templates here, which is where 99.9% of our work comes in with group policy. So let's say I go into Internet Explorer maintenance first of all. And so from here, let's go to the Internet Explorer maintenance and go to connection. So I'm going to go and add proxy settings for the web browser. So we'll enable proxy settings, and we'll say that our web proxy is 10.10.0.10 on port 8080. And we'll use the same proxy server for all addresses. Don't use it for local intranet addresses. So we'll go ahead and we'll OK that. We'll now drop down and we'll take a look at the administrative templates. And on here, we'll go into System. Now, within System, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to block access to certain components of the operating system. So what we'll do is we'll say, right, okay, don't run specified Windows applications. So what we could do is go on into here and enable this and then show a list of disallowed applications. So if for whatever reason I wanted to block an application, like for example, Notepad, I can now block Notepad. So there you can see now, Notepad will be blocked. You can use this, of course, for any type of application on the operating system. All you have to do, if it's outside of the Windows shell, is you need to know the path for it. Next, what we're going to take a look at is registry editing. So I'm going to prevent access to the registry editing tools. Now notice the syntax that we're using here. Prevent access to the registry editing tools enabled. So I'm actually enabling the disabling of the registry editing tools. Disable regedit from running silently. I'm going to say yes to that as well. We can now go through and prevent access to the command prompt for these users as well. But I'm not going to prevent scripts from running, so I can still allow the command prompt to run for scripting purposes. Those are just some of the settings that we can apply. If I go into the logon options here, then I could run a program at user logon. Now I'm going to leave it up to your own interpretation about the type of application that you might want to run. But what I'm going to do is just, for the purpose of the demonstration, run the calculator when the machine actually logs on. Now there's a whole host of things that we can do here with group policy. If ever you're responsible for working with group policy and you need any help, well, if you use the extended view for group policy, you'll see help down on the left-hand side there that relates to all of the settings that you can apply for that particular node. Now we can go through with group policy, as I say, and affect an enormous amount of settings. There are hundreds of thousands of combinations that we can put together in here. Let's now, though, just go and test these group policy settings that we're about to apply. To finish this off, I need to close the group policy, and then I need to make sure that the group policy is actually targeting my branch office OU. So I go into here, go to my branch office users, right click and link an existing group policy object, and I choose my branch office users. From here then, we can OK this, and that's it. That's the group policy now in effect for the branch office users. Now, sometimes they will have to log off and log on to bring these policies into effect, but there is an automatic refresh which by default is every 90 minutes. So they auto-refresh these policy settings every 90 minutes. Let's just go ahead and we'll close this down now. And what we'll now do is switch over to the Windows XP machine and log on as one of the branch office users. And what we're expecting to see is the calculator launch. The registry editing tools will be blocked. The command prompt will be blocked apart from script processing, and we won't be able to use Notepad. Let's go ahead and we'll test that now. Artie is one of our users in the branch office, so let's now go ahead and log on as Artie. And there we can see the calculator has launched. If we go to the Start menu and we run the registry editing tool, we'll then see that registry editing has been disabled by the administrator. We'll just OK that and we'll close down the calculator. Let's go and start Notepad. The operation has been cancelled due to restrictions in effect on this computer. Please contact your system administrator. Notepad is being blocked by the group policy. Let's try the command prompt. And we'll see that the command prompt launches, but notice the command prompt has been disabled by your administrator. Press any key to continue. The command prompt has now gone. The final setting that we put in was for Internet Explorer. So if we go to Control Panel and take a look at our Internet options, and on our Internet options, if we go to Connections and LAN Settings, we're expecting to find the proxy server configured here within the LAN settings, and indeed they are. We'll just OK that and OK that to close it. And so there you can see we are only scratching the tip of the iceberg with group policy at this stage, but it has enormous potential, and it's one of the primary selling points of an Active Directory domain and Active Directory network that we can use this tool, group policy, and group policy objects to control the environment for both our users and our computers.